No.
Do we have anybody here for public participation? Nobody online? All right,
Standing room only.
standing room only. I bet there's 2 people on Facebook. And when Ed logs in to check, there'll be 3.
Check it out.
All right, announcements. The only announcement that I know of is to congratulate John Denizio being appointed as the new. Looking forward to working with you. We'll certainly be interested to follow what happens next with your job and go from there. All right, so moving into budgets. First one on the list is MIS, budget number 155, Town Hall 2.
Paul and I met with Jose and Joe yesterday to discuss this budget. There are 2 major drivers in it. Salaries are up 12.6%, and the addition of 2 munis modules adds almost another 12%. The salary increases were primarily due to FY25 salary reclassifications that took place. That was the survey that happened over the past year. 2 positions were vacated over the past year, which enabled the town to reset some of the step levels slightly to reduce the overall impact of the reclassification, but it is a huge chunk in this budget. The town had actually purchased 2 additional muni modules a few years ago under a capital warrant article, but since then that money has run out and now it's on the main town budget. In addition, the town pays for an annual license every year for the modules, and that went up, that contractually goes up 5% year over year. And then finally, in the network and services category, the overall spend within this group was slightly down year over year, but because there was an ARPA offset in FY25, there is an overall slight increase to the operating budget this year. Town Hall 2 supported this budget 2-0.
Have any questions? John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this may be a question for our new town administrator, actually. So as Steve just pointed out with the expenses, it was a little confusing that it looked like the expenses had gone up when they had in fact gone down because there was an ARPA offset last year, which made it look lower. So I guess my request would be, would it be possible to show the actual spending total and then have a negative, offset from ARPA or something, just so that kind of thing is a little more obvious?
Yep, and I think on last year, it showed it at the very bottom.
Yeah.
And then this year, because it wasn't there, that cell must have just gone away. And the total sheet on the front was correct, but on the detail sheet, I didn't notice it till Steve called me today, so I
Yeah, that's what threw me.
made a note to fix it.
Totals didn't match, so yeah, if you could carry that offsetting stuff forward, that would be really helpful. But
Will do.
Thanks a lot.
Yep.
Anybody else? Yep.
You have desktop computers, laptops, and servers, but you don't put how many there are.
Sorry,
They don't put how many there are for that amount of money.
so on the computers, it's generally 40 to 50 a year, and on the servers, it depends on what we're purchasing. We may purchase a server a year or 2, or a sandbox, or licensing and whatnot.
Okay. Figure it out.
Deb?
Can I ask another question on that capital outlay? So are these like fixed assets? Because normally you wouldn't see these on an operating P&L. 100,000 of capital outlay.
In the last account? Yeah, no, none of them are going to be listed. Well, none of them would show up on our fixed asset list just because of the dollar amount of them
Okay.
and useful life. These are going to be more of, not consumables, but less than that useful life.
Got it.
Any other questions?
Motion to approve?
Second?
For a total of $900,757. No Chris yet, so we can do this by hand. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstain?
Doug, if I can make just one comment.
Yes.
I'm not sure it's obvious, but this kind of a budget for capital equipment is just used to do rolling replacements within whoever needs it within the municipal side of things. So that's why it's at the budget amount as opposed to, we need 40 new computers. They're just, they replace them when they need to be replaced, keep them in service as long as you can, right?
Correct. It's every 4 years, so out of 200 or 250, you replace a quarter of them a year.
So we just kicked around the capital improvements. That is also these guys?
Yeah, it's not ready yet, though.
Okay.
We're going to have to
We'll
push
post-
that one out.
yeah.
They're still fine tuning that and trying to nail down exactly what the
Okay.
plan is going to look like and what the price is going to look like. So in the budget doc, I had a placeholder, and I'm told I didn't estimate high enough. So we'll give them a couple more weeks to fine tune that before we come back.
Okay, so we can bring that back at some
Yep.
point. We just can't forget it. Steve, I'm going to put that on you to not forget that.
So, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
As a point of question/information on that, when we call this the capital, the plan that is declared capital improvement,
It's really our technology infrastructure
I
lease.
feel like we should rename that budget, I really do. IT improvements or IT,
Infrastructure.
yeah.
Five-year rotation,
Capital
right.
improvement doesn't match what it is at
Yep.
all, just a thought.
Yep.
I'm happy to make any name changes. I think people are attached to them sometimes, but sounds like that one's okay to change.
Well,
Please, yes.
You're the new boss.
doesn't make sense.
No, it's fine. It's
You're the new boss. Don't let.
better descriptor. Yeah, that's right. After May 1st, we're going to change that, Frank. First order of business.
Zagarino's online. He's in there going, dang.
The price you pay.
Any comments, Mr. Zagarino? Oh, you're muted.
You're muted.
I'm being distracted by Melissa, I apologize. I did hear you say something about me, though.
We were just talking about changing some budget lines, line names, and maybe May 1st.
After May 1st.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All in favor?
All right. So we'll deal with that at some other time. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
So next, Budget 145, Treasurer Collector. Mr. Giannino. Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for having me.
So we had, the subcommittee voted 2-0 to support this. We had spoken about having the presentations directly from the source, so I'll let Gary talk about his budget, and we'll,
Beautiful.
Steve, let the...
Oh, sure.
You got 5 minutes.
I got 5 minutes. Good evening to
We
the
play the
committee.
music after a few minutes, and then-
Hold on, let me set the timer.
Good evening to the committee. Before you is the Treasurer Collector's Budget, Department 145. The overall budget has a 2.77 reduction. The reduction is related to salaries. We have I'm retiring in the first week of June, and this budget, while it reflects that I'm still here at the end of under salaries, you see a reduction of 75,000. I think that will push down through that. The department will not be replacing person to person, so after I've retired, we'll have one less person in the department, which represents the second reduction in the department over the last 5 years, salary-wise. And we're able to do that based on efficiencies made, really promoting the online payment, changing our lockbox service to become which is much more efficient. There was complaints before about checks being cashed taking 7 or 8 days, and now it's probably within 2 days, 3 days. The only confusion we have sometimes is when people write checks from the banks and the money's out of their account, and the next day there are times where we don't receive that check for another 5 or 6 days. So it does cause sometimes a timing difference. But as we tell people, from our standpoint, the bills have to be paid, are due by a certain time, and if they're over, then we accrue the interest. The other change in this department relates to materials and supplies. You see a rather large increase. We are now moving over to outsourcing our printing, folding of the bills. Right now, we print them on a machine that has outlasted its useful life, and it's not our intention to ask for a capital purchase for that. And so we've come to an agreement with the company to print, fold, and stuff them and build them. And you'll see that line item under the last item under materials and supplies for $40,000. With that, some other changes in there, folding and stuffing bills is built into that $40,000. We're expecting the real estate tax bills and envelopes to go down. Payroll checks and direct deposit advices, we've reduced that from $2,500 to $1,500. Right now, everybody in Town Hall is getting their payroll notice online, and we're working right now to move the police department and the school department over to the, and recreation, excuse me, as I was corrected today, recreation, police. We have some of the larger departments that we haven't moved over yet. It's everyone on the town side, we still have 4 or 5 employees who are get a payroll check. The rest are on direct deposit. In the school department, we're probably down to about 15 or 16 employees that get a payroll check. Everyone else is direct deposit. So these advices, which we're printing and buying the paper for, are just a advice. And now people can use their home email address if they, like my notification comes to my home email. When I open it, it is a private, I use a password to get in. And that's some of the other reductions here. Payroll parking tickets, we didn't request anything this year because we have an overabundance of parking tickets, so we're moving that to an every other year. And it's possible as we enter into next year that we won't need that amount either. The remaining expenses are in melt. There's a slight increase, about $150. That's somewhat related to the conferences and the stay in the mileage. Corrected the mileage from last year's. I think Frank didn't question me when he knew I didn't push it across, so I corrected the mileage. But as I say, overall, it's a 2.77 reduction.
Roger?
So on the, property tax bills, you have it the expense listed under materials and supplies, but it seems like it's more of service. Should it be moved over to the contracted services part of things? Sounds like it's going to be that way for the foreseeable future.
We could do that. I left it under here so that, because that's where the other expenses are related to, but you make a good point. I could move that over.
And then a second question, you mentioned the lockbox. What pays for that? Where's that budget item?
The negotiated services with our bank, the bank pays for it. We don't pay for the lockbox.
Well, that's nice.
Yes.
We should get more deals
How long
like
do they
that.
have to keep the money, use the money before they give it to us?
The lockbox service, which is located in Woburn, when they receive and the mail goes directly to Woburn, which caused somewhat of a stir when it first happened. It's usually within 2 days we'll get receipt of that money after they get it. So it eliminated some of the time frame because before it was being picked up in Burlington, brought to Somerville, wasn't being picked up every day. So we we eliminated the middle person, the town of Burlington, and the mail goes directly, the PO box, the company picks it up.
Just as a sort of background question, are there any other banking services that we pay fee-for-service kind of contracts with, or
No.
they just get our money?
They get our money, they get the deposits. We don't pay for transfers, we don't pay for wires. We have two major banks, one that handles our depository and our payroll, and the other that handles our vendor accounts, our warrant, and our investments. It was set up that way when I got here. Well, the bank we use, Leader Bank right now, is not our bank at first, but we've minimized the amount of banks we use. And when we put out an RFP for bank services, Leader Bank was the most advantageous to us, so.
All right, thank you.
Deb?
Can I ask a quick clarification? Just, I want to make sure I understand on the reduction, the 75,000.
Yes.
So I know you're retiring in June. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So your position will be replaced, but there's some other position that's going to go down? I assume, so that's kind of a, we have the increase in the cost of outsourcing all the mailings and everything, but part of that is reduction in the staff that was required to do it in the past. Is that-
The staff member that was involved in that really was babysitting the printer that day. We constantly had, the machine had some jams happen, so that person really took up a day each quarter. We find with the automation, the continuation, increase in the online banking, and people using the lockbox more often, that we had that availability to reduce. The other aspect of the department, originally the positions were admin assistants. Reclassified all the positions, so as we've brought people in, they have some financial background, possibly most of them have some banking background, so we're just more efficient, so. That's
You got a
right.
huge fan of the online payments here.
Great.
Just saying.
We tell people all the time, it's 40 cents.
Yep.
It's cheaper than a stamp, and if you're getting in your car and coming down, you've wasted more than a stamp, so. Glad you enjoy it. For people, they get on, they can sign in, and they'll get notifications when the bills are in, other than auto excise tax. And we've just finished up with auto excise tax right now. That is that is the tax we receive the least amount of money for, but it creates the most turmoil, dissatisfaction among residents. And you can only tell them it's the registry of motor vehicles that send them things, but there's a lot of confusion with that.
Just tell them to stop buying new cars.
David?
Just to follow up, and I should have jumped in after Gary spoke too, so, and I'll pat Gary on the back. We had a department that had a lot of tenured people that were doing their assigned jobs year to year. When Gary took over, we've had some turnover in the department, which is just retirements, regular retirements. But what he's been able to do in hiring new people is kind of reclassifying how the department works and getting more efficiencies out of them. So he's looking at, well, his position and someone coming in for him, but being able to reduce a person, he's already reduced the person. So the department is down 2 people from when he started, but it's still working efficiently. And now outsourcing some duties as well. It's only 40 grand, but we're saving an employee, we're saving benefits and all that. So kudos to Gary in being able to structure it that way and hiring some good people.
Thank you.
Steve?
You mentioned the excise tax, and I see you have a line item here for the interest refund. How often is that applied, and how do those get adjudicated?
If someone has a balance of $1 or $1.50, and we go into the year-end we don't go after to collect that, so we'll write that off. I don't think we've written over $100 off. Most of the time in auto excise, if we can make any adjustment at all, it's on we send it out to a deputy collector for collections. We'll ask them to waive their fee. Sometimes it's a misunderstanding when it gets there because it got posted to a different account.
Well,
But
the description here says state law requires interest payments on money owed to taxpayers who received abatements on motor vehicles and excise tax.
I
Is
can't,
that not the right description there? It's $100,
yeah.
It's just a carry the keys, we
Yeah.
have to do it. It's
Yeah.
not something we do.
I'm just curious as how often it happens.
It's not that often. Usually, we really, like I said, unless it's like $1 and it's the year end and we're looking at it's more in the real estate, we don't write off interest. Legally, I can't do anything over $10, so
Okay.
10 people came up with $10, but like I said, I usually ask the deputy treasurer collector, who is an outside service, to waive their fee, because they tack a fee on.
Thanks.
Move to approve?
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. So our next one will be, thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Oh, you'll still be here, though?
Yeah,
Our next
here a
one is
while.
149, Chapter 32B, Employment Benefits. Oh, well, let me go back. That last number was $782,242.
Right.
True? Thank you.
Yes. Do you want me to proceed, Mr.?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sure, I'm sorry.
Oh, thank you. I remembered I have to do the talking. Tonight before you is the Chapter 32B budget. Represents, it's a total of $18,502,812. It represents a 7.79% increase from the prior year. We are self-funded in our insurance. We maintain an insurance trust fund, which has approximately $8 million. We've been working that fund, bringing that fund down, which was at one point, it was around $12 million. So we've been absorbing our losses. We basically pay on claims. Claims have increased dramatically from the prior year, and they have since '22. They've been going up, probably went up close to $1 million in '23, $2 million in '24. We're estimating because the health insurance, 32B, is on a calendar year and we're on a fiscal year, I've worked into this budget, as I have in the past few years, an increase in the second half of the year. We know now what July through December is going to be. So next January to June, I've estimated an increase of 4% in claims. I've estimated an 8% increase in premiums for the employees to even out the budget for over the fiscal year. As I just noted, the employees had a 8% increase, which is, I think, if you look at the industry, is still lower than what has transpired out in the marketplace. We have, the employees pay 30% of the insurance. The town pays 70%. We have basically an HMO, I was going to say HBO, HMO program with both Blue Cross and Harvard. And we have an HSA, which is a health savings account with Harvard. We're starting to see an increase in that from participation. HSA creates just that, it's a savings account for individuals. They can put, or the family, or the subscriber, I should say, they can put up to about $7,000 into that account and carry forward from year to year versus on a legacy type program, even HRA, once the year gets over, you start anew. So for the HSA, if you're, which has a higher deductible, but if you're not spending you're saving that money, you can use it to the next year in case something happens. So we're seeing that. But even though we set the premiums, we pay all the claims. We have administration from, which is listed here, the administration charge for Harvard, Pilgrim Health, and Blue Cross Blue Shield. They charge us a fee, but they monitor the claims. They approve them. It's very rare that they get to the point with a claim that it comes to our office. And I'll handle it with the benefits administrator, Christine Sinicola, and we'll try to make a decision. But I think I probably get about 3 or 4 of those a year. So the insurance companies do their job. That is the biggest cost here is for the health, is for the active employees, is $12,663,000. Next is the administration charges. Then you'll see there's a HSA contribution. It's the HMO, HBO, HMO, and the HSA. The town contributes some of the actual costs for that. Then we have the HMO is more of a payment if claims are charged. They'll offset that against some of the deductible. We also cover for the retired employees, which is that number has increased over the last couple of years also. Those are actually based on premium because we don't self-insure for that. And we saw a large increase this year of about $180,000. The retirees have where the active employees are all 70 and 30 for contributions. The retirees, some are at 90, some are at 85, like 1 or 2 are at 85, 80, 75, and 70. The average right now over the last 5 years that I've been, this is my 6th budget here, is moved over closer to the 80% range for premium against the claims. Above the right next on this list, you'll see the stop-loss premium. Any active employee who has claims over $125,000, this stop-loss policy kicks in. And by kicking in, I mean anything above that 125, we get reimbursed for. It gives us that coverage, so if someone has catastrophic illnesses, the town will only spend that $125,000. You can see the reimbursement line item in 2022 is close to $500,000. It has jumped up to $1.2 million the last 2 years and continues to rise, so we're budgeting $1.3 million. We have a diabetes program that has been very successful. The cost rose a bit this year due to a escrowing by the provider. When we started to put this budget together and noticed such an increase, we called them in. We've already seen the cost go back down, so that was just last week. The budget was already prepared, but I think we'll go back to probably up back to $190,000 to $200,000. We probably get 40% of the individuals, and how they get notified is based on the claims. If they see, if they see something related to diabetes or something of that nature, they'll send out quarterly notifications to the employees. And then we start monitoring they start monitoring and educate the people who have diabetes and control the prescriptions. That's what the refund is. We get any refunds they get from the pharmaceutical companies come back to the town. Then there's just some, we have a RX program from Canada. People that want to buy their prescriptions from Canada. It's a limited amount. So we have it here. It hasn't taken off as much as we would like, but I know people can't find those prescriptions in there. The next two line items are costs related to the flex spending program and the HRA program, where people put money aside, and flex spending, which isn't too much. Life insurance is for the employees. That last line is not a mistake, the health insurance consultant. We changed our advisor near the end of the year to USI, and in the past, the provider was, our consultant was getting money from the stop-loss program, the commissions, and also was $16,500 for a fee. We negotiated with USI to eliminate that $16,500 fee and reduce somewhat the stop-loss. They've already paid for themselves with our stop-loss. Last year, I had a 7.5% increase budgeted, and after discussion, after some work by USI and some discussions with us, we lowered the commission a bit, but we got the premium increase down to 1%. So we're seeing the benefits. And they have more educational services. They're going to, we meet with them every 2 weeks, and so far they've been a breath of fresh air for us, for the town. That brings me to the total, as I stated, is a 7.79% increase.
Do I? That number.
7.85, excuse me.
And the total you mentioned was different than what I have.
18,513, that's my fault.
18,513.
Here, it's right here. That's my fault, sorry. The ones I made my markings on.
Fair enough.
18,513,777.
I didn't want to interrupt because he says I interrupt him all the time, but I'll take this opportunity to interrupt him and just say that 7.85% increase is a little higher than we've been used to over the last few years, but we would be the envy of all the towns around us who have had double-digit increases over the last few years. Those that buy their insurance through a collaborative, Maya is the biggest one around here, and they've seen significant increases to their pool over the last few years, including this morning, Paul and I were at a breakfast with managers from other towns who were talking about that being such a budget buster. And I said, oh, similar, ours is double what it usually is, but I didn't tell them the number. So, I mean, I think this is probably more of the norm. The last couple of years, as Gary said, we had a little bit of insurance, if you will, a little pun on words, about with the trust fund having a significantly higher balance than originally projected, so we were able to put a little bit more of it at risk and see where the claims came in. I think when I was here talking about the original budget presentation, I talked about the accommodated accounts coming in around 7 because we were projecting a pretty good number in health insurance. This is still a good number, but it's a little bit higher than we originally projected because when Gary got the Q4 results from calendar 2024, they were a little bit above what our trending had been seen. So we boosted that up just to make sure we were going to be in the ballpark.
We pay, thank you, John, for this. We pay monthly to Blue Cross and to Harvard a set fee. And on a quarterly for one of the providers and monthly in the other, we get a total of the claims. And John's right, in December, we got a rather large overage. We have to pay that out, so it was unfortunate, but.
Any questions, Dave?
Yeah, just a follow-up. So the subcommittee voted 2-0. We went, I mean, again, did a tremendous job in explaining what we went through in the whole thing. This really can be a budget buster. We've been fortunate. The trust fund has had some good balances, so we've been able to, last few years, also subsidize kind of the increases. But this year, again, still on a sub 8% is still a very good deal in town, and the trust fund still is pretty well stocked. So, again, we voted 2-0 in favor.
Deb?
Couple quick questions. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you were saying on the reimbursement HMO, Voya. It's about, close to 500,000. What is that exactly?
The Right now, the deductible for an individual and the HMOs is at $1,000, and a family is $2,000. The town will cover 50% of that, $500 per, for the individual and $1,000 for the family. And you'll see the max, it's based on how many participants they have. It could be as high as 519,000 if every single participant or subscriber to the HMOs exceeded their deductible. In the past, 415,000 was for 22, excuse me. You can see those are the actual reimbursements the town have paid for the deductible, for the reimbursement. They pay it directly to the provider. So for a family, the deductible's $2,000. The town pays the first $1,000.
That's a lot of money.
But we did that when we went from a $1,000 deductible to a $2,000 deductible because it saved more money.
In the
Right.
premiums.
Correct.
Yeah. So that was a way to get a cheaper policy, save money on the
Correct.
insurance side.
We compared our insurances, our offerings last year across the board to some of the neighboring communities, to the GIC. We think we offer a very good program to the employees, and it's not, some communities out there still pay 90% of their premium. Burlington moved to, I can't use that line again, can I? Moved as a prior selectman, we won't name who, talked about the private sector versus the public sector, and it was really 30% was the norm. So the town moved to that probably a good 15 years ago.
Yeah, that has to be negotiated though with the unions, right?
That was, that was contentious back then, but we were trying to save some costs back then. But
I will say that it's more than I ever thought of a recruiting and retention, not so much for us because we're 70/30 and that's the norm around us for other municipalities, but the ones that feel the heat were the ones that pushed it and went to 60/40 during hard years are all trying to buy their way back and get it back to 70/30 just to hold people there and be able to recruit people.
I should state also next year, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry.
One other question. So, again, I'm new to this, so I appreciate your patience. So the retired employees, so they're not included in the OPEB liability, or is that different? Like, why is that coming through on this cost versus?
This is to actually pay for the health insurance. The OPEB is us just calculating what the total
Future.
liability would be.
Okay.
And our
So these are
funding for that,
current
when we get to
costs.
that, is basically just to fund the trust.
Okay.
We don't pay anything out of the trust.
Got it.
The retirees are all on Medicare.
Yep.
There is a breakdown,
I saw that.
identifies some of the retirees who are under 65.
Yeah.
So they're still on our active plans. And if they were on a family plan and the subscriber is over 65, but and they still have other members of their family plan that are under 65, we have to maintain the regular plan also.
Yeah.
John?
Thank you. And Deb, thanks for asking that question. I still haven't gotten the hang of it. So what fraction of eligible employees are actually on the town insurance versus, some other insurance like their spouses or whatever?
I don't know, how many do we have on active total?
Well,
We have total active employees of 674.
that's school and.
That's total, and we have about 1,000 eligible, so it's 65%-ish. We'll have to get you
About 65?
it's about 65, just doing those rough numbers.
All right, that, less than I would have guessed. Okay. And this is, this has to do with the retirees again. I'm a little unclear the bottom section is all retired employees, but then the top section has a retiree column, and I'm not sure, what's the difference between the retiree column at the top versus the bottom? At the top section is active employees, but then it has columns for active and retiree.
We have employees who retire before the age of 65. So they stay on a plan, they're not on Medicare, it doesn't kick in until you're 65. So
Oh, okay, so the top section is really
this is just. the
people
amount of
under
participants.
65, whether they're current employees or retirees?
Yes,
Got it, okay. And the bottom section is people over 65,
correct.
who are presumably all retired.
Yeah.
And that break point is interesting because they're either Medicaid or not as, and we're self-insuring the non-Medicaid, but not, Medicare, but we're not self-insuring on Medicare, obviously.
That's correct.
Yeah, so I wanted to clarify that. I was a little unclear, Gary, this self-insured versus not. So we're self-insured across the board for anyone that's not on Medicare that takes this program. Am I correct?
Correct.
And for anyone that's 65 or over, they qualify for Medicare, and Medicare, the Medicare program covers it all, which we pay by the standard Medicare fees.
The Medicare A and B would be paid by, from usually it's taken out of Social Security. If you want a supplemental program, which we offer the town, that's where you get into the 70, 30, or 80, 20.
I see.
Oh, so, I'm sorry to interrupt. So the employees are paying 100% of Medicare Part A and B?
Correct.
And D presumably, or?
No.
Not D.
That's the supplemental is the C and D, or the D, really. I don't know what happened to C.
That's Medicare Advantage,
Yes, yeah.
which
They're
the
on
town would pay or the employee would pay?
The town would pay their perspective.
Although they're usually free, but yeah, okay.
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to bring up to the front a little bit more the whole matter of how much money is in the trust fund. So the trust fund, its primary purpose is to serve as the shock absorber where money goes in on a regular basis, goes out on a claims basis, and in the end, you hope that what came in matched the claims. And so it works as a shock absorber. And we try to keep a surplus in there just because there's a certain amount of risk in operating something like this on your own. And the goal, I don't even know why, I guess because we've had such good performance of our cohorts, we've been able to, over the years, we accumulated more money in the trust fund than we really needed to have, so we bled that off by covering some of the costs over the past 3 years, maybe.
It was, at one point, the trust fund went into the negative.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yes.
That was not a fun year.
No. So the trust fund was built up. It continued to move up. COVID year, there was hardly any claim. I shouldn't say hardly any claims. Claims are really down. Nobody was going to the doctors. And the fund got to about $12, $13 million.
Right.
I remember my first town meeting as a treasurer collector, some town meeting members asked, that noted that fund was so high, we should be reducing that. So we've made a concerted effort to do that.
And that's helped us.
Right, and I think the 8,000,085 number is a good level number to be at.
Right, so the point I really want to make, Gary, we talked about it, we kind of have a target that we want to keep the trust fund at when you could call it year end, but claims end. You want enough money in there that you can start off again with a buffer. And I think we said something like 10% of what all our claims would be a good buffer.
Yes.
Right? And so that's kind of to me, that's sort of a new policy that we're trying to adhere to in this whole self-insured program. And I think it's a good one. Obviously, the money that's sitting there and not used it's trapped money, but you have to have it if you're going to self-insure. And the last point I would make, Gary, I think we only self-insure because it really pays off, right? And that's after all the administrative fees and the staffing in the department and all the work we've got to do and the insurance and whatnot, it's still pretty favorable. And under a 10% increase year on year in these times of health insurance means we're, for whatever reason, you can pick your reasons, we're doing really well. That may not always be the case. We just don't know, actually. And so we just continue to operate this program. We keep the balance in the trust fund. We do all the scrubbing we need to do to try to keep it affordable. And we've had very good luck with it for, I don't know how long we've done it now this way, quite a while.
We tried looking to see when we went to self-insurance, and I think it went back to the late 70s.
Yeah.
We know with Sam. I know Sam had asked that question, there's some things that we went back, we went as far as back as 97?
Yeah.
So we were there, that's the furthest we could find without getting the archivists to move forward. It really, and Frank's absolutely correct, the claims, one of the concerns is, in the past, we might have had 5 or 6 people, or subscribers, I should say, who hit that 125. The past year, we had 12 and 23 in fiscal year 24, fiscal year 25, we hit 12 again. Looking USI as we looked, because we were thinking of moving our deductible to 150,000 because there was a marked difference. In prior years, when I looked at that, there wasn't a marked
Cost of insurance.
cost change. As we got closer to the end of the year, but when we got into December, all of a sudden, and then we don't really close up the stop loss until December, that differential evaporated because the stop loss company saw how many people we had reaching that $125,000 number. So we actually had talked to Paul and John about had that discussion about moving the deductible to 150, but we decided it didn't create enough savings. We could have cost the town quite a bit of money, so we left it at 125.
And what is the current trust fund balance again?
That's approximately $8 million last month. I'm not sure. It's an investment, so
Okay.
maybe down a bit today.
And it looks like, if I'm reading this right, the annual claims are currently 17 million? Is that?
That's correct.
So if the goal is 1.7 million, then presumably at 10% of annual claims, we've got sort of 6 million margin, or am I hearing that
We're
wrong?
trying to maintain, if that was 1 month's claim, 10% would be $1.7 million. So I tried to look at about 5-month buffer. If something had happened to us, if we had a calamity in our claims, all under 125, we're going to continue to pay those.
Well, 17 million is.
1.7 is.
It's a full year claim.
Correct.
So 10% of that would be 1.7?
I was trying to look, when I calculate it out, I take about 5 to 6 months. That's what I
As
treat
if you
as.
had to pay the whole thing for 6 months.
Right. 1.7 is 1 month.
So that's 50% of annual claims is what you'd like to have then,
In a cumulative, yes,
is what I'm hearing.
yes.
Okay.
Frank's 10% number is a little misleading.
Yeah.
Well, he was talking about.
what's the
month
10%?
Per month, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
per month.
Yeah.
Oh, so you need to multiply it by 6, you're saying?
Yeah.
You could play with that. You could bring it down, but,
No, I was just trying to understand. It sounds like the actual goal is about 50% of annual
Correct.
claims in the
Right.
trust fund.
Right.
Got it. Okay, that's what I
And
was
if you
confused
get
by.
into trouble, you're going to have to either go back to raise it appropriate or find the money somewhere else.
No, it's a good idea to have, no
You
doubt
never want
about
to
it.
go there, right?
I look at, when we're looking at it, we had what's in our investment trust, insurance trust fund, and I have what's called liquid funds, which is the money getting swept into the cash and swept out each month. And that has been what has been deteriorating over the last 3 or 4 years. And now I've actually notified the Rockland Trust, who handles that account for us, the insurance trust, that I need $500,000 to be liquid in case something happens. In the past 3 years,
Meaning it's invested, it's tied up, so you can't get to it?
Right. but the 500 is now
So use a
in
cash
money market.
reserve, yeah, yeah.
I don't think we'll need it, but
Well, the goal isn't to earn, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, I know I'm getting a little chatty. The goal isn't to earn a fortune on this.
That's correct.
The goal is don't lose the money,
that's correct.
right?
Dave?
And just a quick, the trust fund it's jointly owned. So it's 70% of our funds, it's 30% of the employee funds that are in the trust.
And just, if we're, got stuck a little bit on this 10% or 50% of the annual claims, it's also good to remember that every month, the town puts in 70% and employees put in 30%. So there's a constant, unless
Right.
we fire everybody and stop
It's a
paying.
steady end.
There's a steady stream of income into that fund.
It's an uneven outflow.
Right, but it's unlikely that that the income would stop dead for 6 months.
Correct.
So,
But if the claims,
The claims
because we
could
based
triple.
on claims, what the premiums don't necessarily, could be less than the actual claims that hit.
I don't have any problem with the current balance. I'm just
Right.
thinking you could cut it finer and not have a lot higher risk, I think. But that's,
Yeah.
anyway.
Anybody? Yep.
Sorry,
Easy.
just quickly, so we do have 2 providers. Is that legacy or is,
Yes.
Okay.
Blue Cross was at one point had the majority of the subscribers. Now it's really Harvard, which, and for a lot of people, we're getting, it's changing now, but for a lot of employees who are starting, and they would talk to our benefits administrator, people would come in, especially some of the younger ones, and say, well, my parents told me to get Blue Cross, so.
is the cost neutral from an employee perspective?
No, the cost is higher for Blue Cross. Individual, for an employee, for the Blue Cross HMO is $312 a month. For Harvard, it's $274. We're moving towards, right now, we have, barely on the family side, Harvard has 248 subscribers, the Blue Cross has 113. It gave them choices. The programs are basically the same. Deductible-wise, there's little nuances in there, but more people are going with the Harvard now. There were so many changes in the health industry as far as name changes, and Tufts, and
Yeah.
Harvard, and Pilgrim, and I think there was stability, I don't want to speak for people, but stability in the name Blue Cross. So they still see that as the legacy.
Rick?
Oh, thank you. Hi, Gary.
Hey, Rick.
And do you think people going with Blue Cross because they're getting the HSA benefit out of
No,
that?
the HSA benefit, it comes from the Harvard plan. The Harvard,
Oh, you said they're going with, okay, I thought you said more people going with Harvard than Blue Cross.
more people are going into Harvard now.
Right, do you think that's because of the HSA, or?
Well, the HSA group only has about, right now has 260 participants, no. HSA, 108 participants, that's right. I was looking at Blue Cross. 108 participants. We had 89 last year, 76 the year before. The majority, we have 523 people, subscribers in Harvard Health. That includes the HMO and the HSA. We presently have 260 in the Blue Cross plan. So,
And for the HSA, for the town to contribute the $1,500 for individual or $3,000 for family, that match, is there a minimum that the actual employee has to put into their HSA to get that match, or do they get that match?
they get that match,
How much they put in themselves?
yes, yes. Because the deductibles are $3,000 and $6,000. So the town basically reimburses as an incentive to get them to move into that. That's we've discussed that, you'll see there's also a 300 and 600. When I started doing this in 2020, I looked at the differential between what the charges were for the HMOs versus the HSA, and the differential wasn't, from Harvard, wasn't that much, so we did an incentive for 300 and 600 to start getting people to look into the HSA. I think we're starting to get successful. I took that out of the second half for 2026. I removed that 300 and 600 as an incentive. I wanted to remove it this year. We have an insurance advisory committee, which is made up of employees from all sectors, the police, fire, schools, and we get pretty active in those. We have a couple of meetings before we set this. And they agreed to the 8%. They wanted to keep this 1 year, the incentive to get people. But I think the differential now is enough that we don't need that further incentive of 300.
Anybody else? I just had one thing. So you touched on the Canada Pharmacy. I remember when we talked about that in the past, it was going to be a way to save money, but the employees are hesitant?
No,
They just don't want to.
I had a prescription, I went to them and they didn't cover it. I think the limit, is a limitation to the pharmaceuticals that they.
Drugs covered, yeah.
And with the tariff now, I don't know if there'll be any savings, so.
Well, I was going to say, that I've heard good things from patients about the Mark Cuban pharmacy now also.
Yes.
And you're not doing the Canadian pharmacy thing as far as worrying about things coming across quite a bit cheaper on the drugs that they have.
Abacus with the diabetes program, they assist the subscribers in getting the prescriptions there too.
Just for the diabetes
Yes.
drugs, though,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Anybody else?
Move to approve?
Beat this one. This is for $18,500,000?
Yep, 1377.
What?
There's 3 sevens at the end.
18,513,777.
Oh, I missed that. Okay. 18.
513, 777.
Thank you. Not sure how.
Trick number.
I looked at the wrong thing. All right, all in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 1300.
It's a big budget, it's good, good work.
Okay.
Next up.
I'd just like to, we talk about the employees. I may, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
We're quite fortunate to have some qualified people on the staff. Our benefits administrator does a fantastic job. He's very good with the employees and with the retirees. And I always tell different municipalities to leave my people alone, so. There have been discussions, and I tell them John will get very upset.
Well, I bet that's
In
good.
fact, I told one person, another person, not to touch any of the people.
Moving on. Other post-employment benefits. Who wants to tackle that?
So OPEB, which John mentioned, is the total liability for all the health care moving forward to the employees. We have started a program. It's not required by law to make contributions. We had a deficit of, at one point, 105, well, it was up to 116 million at one point. It changes every 2 years. We have actuarial studies done. Every June, we have a GASB study done. It gives us our liability. It was a 40-year program to eliminate that unfunded liability. We have a company, Siegel, that does the reports for us. We use a 7% discount rate, which is conservative, but I think the town administration set that, rightfully so, a few years ago. Other people are using 7.5, 7 3/4, but we've been pretty consistent. I think we dropped it from 7.15 to 7.
We should just pause on that a second, Gary. So that's all about, you build a model. A model's a model, right? It could be right, it could be wrong. And in the model, you build into it how much money you can earn in the markets for your investments, for the balance of your trust fund. And we started out at 7.5 or 8.
I think we might have started at 8, you know.
Some ridiculous number, to tell you the truth, and I take credit for that. And through a lot of advice from the actuaries, watching what's going on in the markets, et cetera, and wanting the model to be reflective of as close to a reality we could get, we kept lowering what's called the discount rate, the money we assume we can earn from the trust fund annually. And the reason you want to do that is because if the model's way off, then either the money you're putting into it isn't going to come out right, or the fund is never going to catch up. So you need the model to be periodically refined and made as accurate as you can so you know where you are. And so we've lowered that discount rate, and I think it's at 7% right now.
7%, yes.
And we talked a little bit about it this year again. From what I can tell, and a lot of you have eyes and ears out in the market, that's a reasonable number to model against. I think we can make that. Some years we do better, and you need to do better because some years we do worse. And so that's where it's at, all right? Based on that, which is a big piece of this, and in the beginning, we back calculated from a model how much we needed to put into the money from the operating budget every year to close down the unfunded liability in year XYZ. And I thought we did it for 30 years. You mentioned 40. I believe it was a 30-year closure.
Yeah, it's 20.
25, yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's what the model did.
No, it was
And
30.
we came up with
It was 30.
It was 35.
35? Jeez, we're all wrong.
13, and now it's 23, and
Yeah, okay, all right. So that's how we come up with what we pay every year, the 9.3% increase every year based on all of the other parameters of how many people are in it and what the fund is earning and blah, blah, blah. And what we're trying to do is keep achieving progress against the unfunded liability, getting that lower and lower and lower, and to have closure of the whole thing at the end of the program. That's what this model is. So the discount rate's a pretty big factor.
And we backed that up, and thank you, Frank. No, you're absolutely
Yeah.
correct. We backed that up. There's PERAC, which is basically a state agency who, really for pension plans, and utilizing their data, and I go to those meetings, and we're going to deal with Middlesex County later. The average right now for discount rates for this type of thing is right around the 6.92%. So, and it had dropped from the previous year. So we're right in that number, which is a good sign. So we do, the money is invested right now, it's roughly at about 19,800,000. We have, that money is invested in the Pension Reserve Investment Trust Fund called PRIT. It's operated by the Pension Reserve Investment Managers. The state treasurer is the chair of that group. They manage over $109 billion, 75 public markets. They're a diversified group that work both in global equities, core fixed income, private equity, real estate, timber, which was a new one for me, in value-add fixed income type programs. Their goal is not to try to hit the highest or hit the lowest. They're trying to be somewhere in the middle. They've averaged over, I believe, the 10 years since inception of this money. Of course, I had that before.
But just a
So
question.
about 9%, 8%.
Sorry, are we trying to hit the budget number, or are we doing the whole OPEB report?
I'm just
Oh, the budget's the
educating
whole-
people who
right.
might not have been here for the last couple of years,
Yeah.
that's all.
Yep.
It's good background.
But if you want to talk about the budget, it's 9.3% increase as when we built our plan. It's just over 1.2 million now, which is manageable in the budget the way it is now. If we get 10 years out and it's a couple $1 million and there's still no requirement to spend it, and we were right up against it, may have a different conversation, but it's the plan that's been around and fits within our budget. And there, again, no requirement to fund this. When we first started funding it here, we were one of very few doing it. There's many more doing it now, but probably we're way ahead of the game. So at some point, when they do require us to fund this, we'll have a nice base to build off of, and that is likely, most folks think, or people that follow it think, well, that will coincide with when the retirement system is fully funded, and we'll talk about that when we get to that. But that is 2037 is the requirement right now. I think we're a little bit ahead of that. But we're thinking that at that point, then they'll come up with the next regulation that says, okay, you've been required to identify what the liability is and book it in your financial statements. Now you have to actually put a plan together and fund it by 2100 or whatever, long after I'm not doing this anymore.
The other aspect, it is not required. The rating agencies, when we look out for, go out for bonding, that is a point they always bring up, and they mention the fact that they use that as a positive factor that we have been funding this annual contribution. So before you tonight, we have a request for $1,216,666.
Any questions relative to the
And
number?
the subcommittee voted 2-0 in favor. Again, statutory-wise, we do a report, an updated actuary report every 2 years. That will be done this year. So we'll get the report probably in the fall of next year, and we will have a very detailed meeting again as well in talking about the report. We'll have Siegel in here to talk about the report, see where that unfunded liability stands. But this plan at the 9.3% is something we put in a long time ago, it continues to go up, and we fund it.
Anything else? Have a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
$1,216,666. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Passes 13-0-0. Next is unemployment, also 149.
So I'll take this one. Unemployment is requested to be level funded. We've funded $100,000 for many years now. Some years we've spent more than that, some years we've been below. Through this year, through mid-January or early February, we had spent about half of that. The number fluctuates. You think, we don't lay off a lot of people, but people change jobs for lots of reasons, not just layoffs. So we do have a liability every year. Some years ago, during COVID, there was quite a bit of fraud that went on, and we built up a big credit because claims, one put in for me when I was working here by somebody else. The claims were automatically paid, and then after an audit, there was significant credits, I think a couple $100,000 to us,
Correct.
that we were able to spend down over time. And we feel like that $100,000 is a good number, and it's the level funded. We are self-insured too, so we could buy into premium-based systems, but we would pay significantly more based on the total payroll we have.
Okay.
Yes,
Subcommittee?
hit on it, self-insured. Subcommittee voted 2-0, the level fund.
Question?
Second.
Motion for $100,000 for unemployment. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 13-0-0. Next up is Medicare.
So although the town isn't required to pay Social Security, neither are our employees, we are required to pay and withhold Medicare tax. So for the dollars we pay out, we are required to withhold from our employees and also pay 1.45%. So that we're talking about a little under 5.5% increase year over year. I think $80,000 is the exact number, and this is us sort of estimating where we think that the total salaries paid out in FY '26 will be as compared to this year. And that's if you were to add on what the salary growth year over year is between people's wage adjustments, lanes, columns, et cetera, it's about, 5 to 5.5%. So we're very comfortable with that number.
Any questions on?
Subcommittee voted 2-0 in favor.
Any questions? Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So, motion to approve the Medicare line item for $1,550,000.
No.
What?
Yes.
No.
Am I?
1,550,000.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Just making sure. All in favor?
Yep.
Opposed? Abstain? 1300.
You were rounding again.
Everybody's worried about my counting. All right. Middlesex Retirement.
Middlesex Retirement System also has a unfunded liability. We're required by state law to make our yearly contributions. It's estimated that we'll be, right now, finished paying that in 2036. Our contribution calculation is changed every 2 years as they do their program. They use Siegel also. Right now, the fiscal year '26 total contribution, we have two options. We can pay 50% on July 1st and 50% on January 1st, or we can make a lump sum payment on July 1st. We're recommending the lump sum payment of $15,210,846. We do an annual calculation. I take a look at the discount and see if it makes sense based on what we can earn for interest if we held on to that money for 6 months. The actual interest earned from last year, this year has dropped 100 basis points, roughly 1%. So the savings by paying the amount here, at one time is given the discount's 3.42%. We say we're going to, and I'm estimating we're going to be in the 4% range, or 4.25%. Compared to last year at 5.25%, is roughly about $110,000 savings by paying now. Last year, that savings was $67,000 because we're earning probably 5%. So we continue. This program is on a 7.15% discount. And when we go to in April and May, we have advisory meetings which I go to. I've been stressing to get down to 7%, but I'm in the minority there, so I just keep quiet at that point. I've done it for 2 years. This year I'll remain quiet and let it stay at 7.15. So we're requesting a approval of $15,210,846, which is about we basically increase our contribution by 6.85% for the liability that's owed. Burlington is the second largest member of the Middlesex County Retirement System at 8.6%.
Questions?
Subcommittee voted 2-0
Sorry, Dave.
in favor.
Yeah.
Just wanted to confirm, did you say this is the actuarial evaluation is updated 2 years?
Yes.
OPEB? Same
Yes.
timing?
This was valuation as of January 1st, 2024.
Okay.
So,
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 2 questions. Are they using this, what discount rate are they using?
7.15.
Okay, so they're using something pretty similar. And this is just for the town side employees because the teachers are in the state pension
Correct.
program? Okay, and just,
Would be school non-MTRS employees, so non-certified staff at school
okay.
would still be in
It's
Middlesex.
covering, they're in that
So paras, custodians,
administration presumably.
well, administration would likely be certified and would be in.
Oh, they are in that, okay. And does the town pay anything into into the MTRS, or that's entirely funded through payroll deduction?
Correct.
Right.
Okay,
I think it's 11% they're gonna.
right, so it's intended to be self-funded. Okay, great.
That's the idea.
We make 2 contributions a month for that based on the school payroll is bi-weekly.
Anybody else?
Move to approve?
Second.
So motion for $15,210,846. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 1300. Next up, workers' comp.
So for the next one, I'm going to bring up Sam Hockenberry, who is a management financial analyst for us. He's sort of our Swiss Army knife. He's playing triple duty right now, doing his job, and while Rachel's out on maternity leave, helping out with her stuff. And Sam sort of controls and estimates this budget, so he'll be able to talk to it much better than I can.
So, the town insurance, which also covers the workers' comp, both the premium payments, the company that we use to help monitor the workers' comp claims, and medical wage payments for workers' comp. All of that comes out of the one line item for town insurance, and the request is $1,700,000, which is a hefty percentage increase. But we've been seeing hefty double-digit percentage increases in insurance premiums, and workers' comp can be all over the place. Some years it's really high, a lot of claims. Other years it's much lower. So it's all using past years to try to guesstimate a certain percentage.
I just want to add that this is townwide, so this is for all, this covers all of our buildings, our liability insurance for all of our buildings, including schools, and also covers all of our employees for workers' comp, with the exception of police and fire, which are covered under a different statute when they get injured on duty. Those budgets, that's 111F, Chapter 111F, and those are budgeted within the police and fire department to cover those injuries. But this is everybody else in all the other buildings. And we haven't had a whole lot of competition. We do this every year. Sam works for a lot of months on this every year. We don't get a ton of competition. Part of it is because we're a municipality, part of it is because of our experience. We've had some pretty significant claims in the last couple of years, including the loss of the floor at the high school gym, the wood gym, which was a big, giant claim. So hopefully a few years from now, our increase isn't as steep. Again, dollar amount, it's not that huge of an increase, percent-wise it is, but we'd like to stay under that if we could. That's it.
Subcommittee voted 2-0.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're self-insured on a lot of things, which sounds like it's worked out really well. I'll ask my annual question. Is there anything that we're self-insuring that does not have a stop loss on it?
Unemployment, if you consider that an insurance thing. We self-fund unemployment.
Right,
It's not really
okay.
Insurance doesn't have a stop loss.
Right.
No.
Okay, so
Workers' comp.
So in theory, nothing can totally blow up on us. Okay, great, thank you.
Deb?
Quick question on the breakdown of the insurance, central admin summary. So can you just clarify for me, so what's the difference between workers' comp benefits versus, I assume the excess liability is the stop loss premium? What's the difference between benefits and medical costs?
Benefits is their salary when they're out.
Okay.
And then the medical costs are trips to PT or surgery, things like that.
Got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a question, so when we have a claim, have to pay the deductible, is that deductible in this budget anywhere?
Are you talking about the health insurance?
No, on like a regular,
Like the gym floor.
Like the gym floor, for example, yeah.
Yeah.
So where's the estimate? I mean, you have to estimate what you're going to pay in deductibles. I'm assuming that's in the budget, in there?
It's in the top line, the premium, whatever.
It's part of the premium, okay, thank you.
We sort of pay it out of that fund in total, not necessarily that exact line, but out of that total budget is where it gets paid.
Okay. And how do you base your estimate for what your deductible is going to be this coming fiscal year? How's that determined, just based on history?
Yeah, and really what happens is we're gonna get net the deductible when we get our payout. The deductible's already gonna be withdrawn. The payment's gonna be decreased by that, it's gonna be
Right,
net
by
the
the
deductible. And then, in many cases, what we got isn't gonna pay for whatever the fix is, and part of it's gonna come out of the department's budget. If it was a vehicle or something, say, and fleet maintenance got $5,000 to fix it, but it's a $6,200 job, the $1,200 they're gonna pay out of their budget. We don't actually have to pay out a deductible to the department.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So a motion to fund $1,700,000 for town insurance and workers' comp. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes 13-0-0.
Just as a point of interest, as we build new buildings, if I may, does that affect very much the premiums for building insurance, like the police station and
Yeah.
Foxville and
So we fund, the buildings are insured at, like their full value, full cash value. And so, a newer building is going to have a higher valuation, so it would be,
So we're going to see several of
Not
those.
significant.
yeah.
It's not?
We're full value already, so.
Okay,
But
okay, thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Recreation.
Just to make sure, the other 149 items, are we covering those another week, or like the central machine and all that?
That's,
Yes.
yes,
26th?
Yeah.
yeah, another week.
Later, okay, great.
Right.
Just wanted to make sure. Good, thank you.
Come on up. Brendan Egan and crew. Introduce who you got with you. And I appreciate you guys waiting. I'm sorry it was,
Thank you.
always stinks to be last. I'm sorry.
What's the budget number for this one?
For,
6:30 and 6:31.
yeah, I think it's all under 6:30 now. All right. Welcome, Brendan.
Thank you. Thank you for accommodating us. I know we're on next week's agenda, but I appreciate you taking the time to move us up.
Thanks for waiting.
No problem.
Ready?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I know we're doing this different this year, so. The overall Parks and Recreation Department budget coming in just at the guideline at 3%, a little under what we were given. We do have increases in our salaries due to contractual obligations, the current contract, in our employees and what their next steps will be in grades. We do have an increase in our part-time salaries as well. Part of that is due to our therapeutic recreation staff. The amount of requests for support services has gone up, and to meet those, we did have to increase our part-time salaries. And then we also had an increase in our contracted services. It does look like a lot, but it's $1,200, and that was a shift in software cost. We were at a 75-25 split where we were picking up, and when I say we, out of the revolving account, 75%. We just started to shift it a little to a 65-35 split, so that we're asking the town to pick up a little more. And our 2 software programs that increase, we have a Bamboo HR software that does all of our onboarding of our staff, completing the paperwork. It has time tracking, so our part-time employees sign in on their phones when they arrive at work and when they leave, and it's calculated and submitted at the end of the week. It's uploaded. We upload it to our person that does our payroll in our office, and then it's signed off by the supervisors of those programs and our administrative staff. So Bamboo software does a lot of other things too. I'm trying to get you to the basics of what it does. And then our RecTrack software, which is our registration software. So if any of you have registered for a program, you've probably done it online or on your phone, from the comfort of your home, or if you've come into the office, it's the same software, just what we use in the office to track all of our registrations and programs. So those were the increases in our budget. Be happy to answer any questions on specific lines that you have.
Subcommittee?
The subcommittee voted 2-0 to support the budget. A lot of great programs in the rec department, and a lot of different sources of funding from the program fees and town's contribution contributes to putting forth a very good program.
John?
If I may just tack on one other thing, thank you, Mr. Chair. One of the things that Brendan touched on that I think is, a good policy discussion that they're having is how self-funding should the programs be. And I think he had mentioned it's about sort of 2/3 self-funding now, or user-funded right now. And I think it's a good question is, should it be 100% funded by the users, or should this be like other services in town where the town covers it, or whatever amount? But at any rate, I know that's an ongoing discussion that you're having, and it's a good one to consider.
Yes, so we are looking at a cost recovery program. We realize that our rates are, for programs are very minimal, and we have not had increases in a long time. This cost recovery program will identify how much of the cost that we want to recover. Do we want to be 100%, 80%, as well as giving us a mechanism to increase the rates incrementally and phase those in. We did about a $10 to $12 increase on some programs as we were coming out of COVID, some of our fitness programs, and we got some feedback, why did these go up so much? If you look at it over a 10-week period, it was like $1 a week, right? But we realized that just that amount would, can elicit that response from the residents and the customers that take programs with us. So as we start to get into that more and look at a cost recovery program, those conversations will be had, and we'll be upfront with people that, things are going to change a little, and we'll identify what that sweet spot is.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just for clarification, so the Bamboo software, I thought you said that was for onboarding part-time or all employees, or just part-time employees, and also time tracking for part-time employees?
Yes, so we bring on around 100 employees during the summer months, and then throughout the year, we have probably another 50 that may come on at different times, or instructors, maybe even more than that. I can't remember the last count we had, but they can fill out all of their paperwork online, and it's a communication tool. We can put out updates to policies and everything through that. Like I said, they fill out their paperwork, it gets submitted to us online, and HR has access to it, so they can upload the paperwork that's required there as well.
I see. And how is that different from like some of the other town functions, what they use for onboarding and for time tracking? How is that software different?
We probably, I'm not sure what other town departments, if they just use mostly paper forms. We have a lot of part-time employees by the nature of our business, program supervisors, instructors, and then in the summer, like I said, we bring on an additional almost 100 staff to staff all of our programs. The quick turnaround of the paperwork makes it very viable for us to use. Otherwise, we're chasing paperwork, sometimes up until the day it starts. But when it's on the computer, or I'm sorry, in software that can send out notices, hey, you're missing this paperwork, and we can track it, up to the minute. So it's an ease of use of getting all of that paperwork or all the onboarding paperwork done.
I see. Yeah, where I was coming from is I was just wondering if there was any way to leverage any existing software contracts that we have with, other town departments. But it sounds like your needs are pretty unique.
They are, compared to other departments. We have had conversations about, seeing if the town would like to take on Bamboo altogether, and, we'd love to have the access we do and have that cost picked up by the town. That would be great. But at this time, I don't think that's.
Gary already left.
Yeah.
My memory, even from being on this subcommittee when this came on, was going to Bamboo saved us quite a bit of employee time, staff time, because so many of the staff, part-time staff, require so much training, CPR every year, this every 2 years. They were quite, I can't even remember, but it was a long list, and so we had staff people that all they were doing was just chasing high schoolers who were going to be a camp counselor in the summer to get this paperwork, get that,
Right. It does track certifications as well, and will send reminders when their certification is going to expire, or when they log back in. If they haven't worked for us, they go off to college, they haven't worked for us, but they're coming back for the next season, next summer, when they log into it will tell them you need, we pull the list as well, but it reminds the staff that you need your first aid, you need your CPR research, certification updated, your driver's license is expiring. The registry won't do it anymore, but Bamboo will do it if you're.
It's another good reason to work for the rec.
That's right. That's right. All positives.
Thank you. Thanks, Rick.
You're welcome.
Deb.
This was a great learning for me. I didn't really realize that the recreation maintenance group, when I think of recreation department, I think of all the programs we're talking about, and what you guys cover is clearly way beyond that. I guess the one question I have is, in terms of the salaries, so there's about 100,000 on here for overtime, spring and fall cleanups, and I'm just curious, I understand, and summer shifts, Saturday and Sunday shift differentials, not knowing enough about the programs, like what's creating that timing?
Sure.
It requires the overtime.
So we have 17 employees in the Parks and Recreation Department, 9 full-time maintenance staff. We are responsible for maintaining all town, school, grounds, parks, properties. There is some contractual obligations in their union contract that they have 1 weeknight, 3 staff for 4 hours, 1 weeknight from April through November, where they work on town buildings, usually in this stretch from the fire station up to 61 Center, where they'll do work after hours. They're not cutting grass during business hours outside people's windows, that kind of thing. That is a contractual obligation. Sorry, that's April through June. July and August is 2 people for 4 hours, and it's up to the Director of Parks and Recreation to assign them to any task throughout town. So a lot of times if we're working on something during the day, the shift is ending, we might, say the 2 people that are working this week, we want them to continue with that project. Or we've been having an issue here, we send them there. And then it picks back up to 3 people for 4 hours, September through November. And then the other part of it, the weekends, we have bathrooms and trash that don't stop needing to be cleaned and picked up. So our staff, from usually the beginning of May until the end of October, we have 1 full-time staff that works a 4-hour shift on Saturday, and another full-time staff that works a 4-hour shift on Sunday in the, let's call them the shoulder seasons, the May timeframe. And then as school gets out, youth sports really kick in. They go to 8 hours on a Saturday and a Sunday, starting usually Memorial Day to Labor Day. And then we kind of fall back. We can do 4 hours after that. They're responsible for cleaning the bathrooms and emptying the trash. We have approximately 105 to 115 barrels that need to be emptied. We obviously know the ones that are heavier use than others. And so they do that on the weekends. And then we cover any event that happens on the town common. We usually get an update from the select board office that says this event has been approved for the common. And anytime there's large numbers, longer hours on the common, if it's a 2-hour small event, we might not have to put anyone on. But once there's hundreds of people expected, food involved, then we have to come into, yes. So those are what all those shifts are. And as their hourly wage increases, we have to make that adjustment into the overtime as well. And then we do, one last one. Throughout the year, we do fall cleanups, so we don't do the schools during the school day, cleanups in the fall when the leaves are coming down. They do them on the weekends, so they're not interrupting anything. And we usually have 4 to 6, depending on weather and how much they can get done in the fall, and then usually 4 or so in the spring. Last week's high winds, we wind up cleaning up a lot from there as well. So there are those shifts that they get called in to clean up.
Cheyenne?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a quick question about the therapeutic recreation staff. They're part-time. How many are there, and what is their role?
We have 1 full-time therapeutic recreation specialist, and then we have a position for a part-time therapeutic rec specialist that we've just been having a hard time filling because it's one of those jobs that, if you are a therapeutic rec specialist, you get snapped up full-time somewhere, so we can't offer the hours. But we have support staff throughout the year. And I think we run right now, I'm going to look at our assistant director, about 8 to 10 right now, and then in the summer it goes up to 15 plus, depending on the request that we get. We do not turn anyone away for support. We try not to turn anyone away for support that requests in the summer. And obviously with schools out, some of the services that students may get in school, they may be participating in our programs, but don't have that aid that they may get in school with them in the summer, so they request support from us. So we try to fill those in, like I said, about 15 in the summer in all of our programs throughout town, around town.
Just a follow-up, would it make sense to have that offered as a full-time position?
So down the road, we'd like to have a second full-time therapeutic rec specialist. We have been lucky to take on some therapeutic rec interns the last few summers, and they've been phenomenal and done yeoman's work in helping our therapeutic rec specialists, our full-time specialists. So that's where we may be going. I don't see smiles on anyone else after that.
We don't like to hear about hiring, actually.
Frank?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to clarify, I'm not sure I'm reading this right. First of all, all Saturday work is overtime, am I correct?
Correct.
Again, all right. So your overtime budget total is $11,000.
That is on our program division. Our maintenance division is, I think it's now 100 and,
Where is that in the?
Page 7 of 9.
Okay. Oh, I see.
so it's still broken down by division. The cover page has everything, and then it is broken down by division.
Yeah, okay, I get it now. All right, thank you, yeah. So one other thing. This idea of recovering more costs from the tuition fees, looking at increasing the fees, are you thinking of doing that kind of across the board or program by program, considering each one of them?
So that's part of the process, right, is identifying.
All I want to say is, and there are a lot of things we don't recover all the costs, right, like water. And it kind of kills me to think that we're going to start trying to recover fees from programs where probably a good percentage of them, the clients that are in them, this is a real benefit to them because they can afford to do something else. And I would be loath to try to recover costs in cases like that. And maybe some programs were given away and they could easily, clients could pay for it easily, like maybe it's a weight training program or something. So hopefully you can apply a lot of discretion
Yes.
to that. But I will make the point, there are plenty of places the town does not recover full costs from the department or the project or the program. It goes straight into the operating budget as almost a subsidized thing, so.
Yes, our summer Park Place program remains that way, and that's our goal, is to keep it that way. It offers families that may not have the extra funds
So
to.
to not recover there.
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
enough said.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I just, along those lines, Frank, we talked a couple of years ago, Sonia and I talked with you. They always face the challenge of level services, but they can always offer more programming. But every time they do that, because they're not recovering, then you look at a budget increase.
Right.
And so the balance is, if there's a need or an identified want from the community for more services in the rec department, how do you manage that without
And maybe you
increases?
fee those differently.
Yeah.
if it's-
Or if you fee them all a little higher, then you can,
Yeah, all right.
then you won't see, above guideline increases in the operating budget. That was the
All
challenge.
I'm trying to say is that a lot of these programs do an awful lot of good for people, not only because it's hard for them to afford it, but it provides a lot of almost mental health benefits and whatnot, so.
Sure.
And we also offer scholarships. No one gets turned away,
Yep,
so.
that's great, thank you.
John?
Yeah, and thank you, Mr. Chair. And the reason I brought that up earlier was I wanted to emphasize that I agree with Frank. I mean, if we look at schools, no one's paying to be on sports or any of those programs. So, historically, these are different in that they have user fees and so on, but fundamentally, there's no reason why they necessarily should. So, yeah, I agree with you. I think, in particular, I wouldn't want you to feel like you need to go to 100%, cost recovery, because I don't think that's where the town should be. In general, our policy has been that the town provides services and, everyone pays for it because we all benefit from it one way or another. So I just wanted to be clear why I brought that up.
Yep.
I wasn't criticizing, I just wanted to make that point to all of you, how I felt about it from a budgetary point of view. Thank you.
I just, one more 2 cents, but when John and I in the subcommittee talked about the same issue with we kind of thought that the 2/3, 1/3, 2/3 split was a pretty good balance as it is today. But it is good to review the stuff and know where your costs actually are and know where things. Thank you.
If you keep getting 2 cents, we'll have enough to pay for a program. I like it. I had to steal your 2 cents.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else? Any other questions?
Motion to approve?
Second.
So we have a motion for the recreation and rec maintenance budget of $2,309,089. All in favor? Opposed? Abstained? 13-0-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your patience. And-
Thank you, and thank you to the commission who
Yes.
came in force.
Oh, we're worth listening to, right?
Now they,
Once a year.
now they understand OPEB and the retirement and the health program.
It was educational.
Thank you again.
Moving along, any updates on police station? Oh, Mike's not here.
There was a meeting this week on Thursday. They've got the new pictures of the building,
They sure do, yeah.
and I think they're available online. They're going to have a regular monthly meeting. They haven't scheduled the day yet. They're going to create a mechanism to communicate with the abutters and need more communications. And that's probably the summary.
The new drawings are much more attractive than the original, just kind of
A lot of
placeholder
good ideas there, and
square building, yeah. High school, nothing different. We have the high school has the regular monthly building committee meeting tomorrow night. I believe there will be some cost estimate updates presented. I checked to see if the committee got them early, and we didn't, so there's just blank pages that say cost in the PowerPoint, so we'll see the unveiling tomorrow and see what the costs look like.
Jeremy implied that they should be there tomorrow.
What is it? What'd you say? What?
Oh, Jeremy was here earlier. I chatted with him. He said they expected them tomorrow.
Yeah. Fox Hill?
Nothing new. I misspoke last week by saying that the detailed design document, the correction is the detailed design document had been submitted to the MSBA. And we got a little new information today about solar panel alternatives and including utility costs, which will get discussed and talked about at the Fox Hill Building Committee meeting next week.
To that point, Mr. Chairman, thank you. So whatever we do on solar panels, roof and parking lot, that's all outside of MSBA and outside of the current
Yes.
bond, right? Am I
Yes.
right? No, it's an extra across the board,
It doesn't have to be outside the current bond. It could be included in the amount that's approved.
if it fits.
If it
So,
fits.
in terms of the way that the
Right.
committee has defined the scope of the project, the scope of the project does not currently include solar panels of any kind.
So we should get a clarification, number one. If it fits in the amount of money that we've approved for a bond at town meeting, is that okay? You can just scoop it in. I'm not sure it is. We should find out yes or no on that.
What did we do with Marshall Simons and Brushfield?
Oh, God.
Those are done after the fact. So if anything, Frank, the building committee would need to make an official decision to
Do it.
pull it in, and then you're right, there may be some issues with sort of the scope according to lawyers and other people.
Right, so it could be that we may bring to Ways and Means an add-on project for funding for Fox Hill. And that's looking like $4 or $5 million bucks.
3.8 was the,
$4 million bucks.
Yeah.
And Ed's done a lot of work already on, whether you rent them or buy them and all of that. So that could come up. How much time pressure would we be under to figure that out?
my impression is there isn't really any.
Okay.
Right, because in the scope is all the wiring and the
Because it would take a
infrastructure.
town meeting, if we have to raise more money at $4 million bucks, it's going to take a town meeting event to do it, a warrant article.
Yeah, at this point, I think it has to be done as a separate item.
All right.
If it's just a PPA, I think the administration can decide to do that and write a contract. If we actually want to fund it as a project and pay for it and own it, that will need a warrant article.
Okay.
And then it will be in the mix with all the other demands for capital.
Isn't part of the current approved budget, though, it includes all the infrastructure?
Yes.
It's
So
solar ready.
You could,
So, yeah.
you could decide after the building was finished.
Yeah, you're not going to have to dig up the parking lot.
No, but we don't really need panels until 3 years from, until the building's close anyway.
Right.
I'll let you guys figure it out. I just wanted to keep an eye on that. It may turn out we need to do something a little quicker than we might be thinking.
Yes. I mean, at this point, I mean, we still don't, in the overall capital plan, I don't think there's a line item to say, this is a potential project.
Right, for
And
$4
maybe we
million.
should,
Put it
with a little bit more deliberation, put a line item in there so that it gets part of the discussion of all the capital items
Right.
is one to do so.
If it is an outlay, I don't think there's much hope of covering that with free cash.
Cash is cash, right? We get the,
No, borrowing is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, for that amount, it's going to be borrowing.
Right.
okay, without diving in,
That's why we need to know, and we may need to debate it,
right?
okay?
Sorry, Ed, if I hope I haven't like preempted anything you might have to contribute.
No, I don't have any further comments. I think there were a few details around the margins that we wanted to find out more about. But overall, it's cost-effective, so you could justify the borrowing, certainly, except for the mechanics of getting the borrowing done.
Right. I think we've said enough. If it has to go through town meeting, we could justify it. Doesn't mean town meeting will, right? Especially when I see the debt schedule.
So,
Yes.
I'm not sure where, are we doing reports?
Fox Hill. Yeah.
Fox Hill. All right, I have, I'll do it after you get to.
Okay. Did you have some?
I just had a comment when you get to that section.
When I get to the after the report section?
Yeah.
All right. Athletic field.
So the meeting last week centered a lot around the fields, permanent painting, netting, some new gates or positioning of gates, also landscaping. They're going to kind of fine tuning the bid package. They're looking to go out, I believe, in April, 18-week construction schedule. They want to have everything completed by August. So everything looks to be on task and
On budget.
on budget, and there's buy-in from soccer, field hockey, lacrosse. So everybody seems to be, working together. It seems to be coming together pretty good.
Is there a price point?
I don't have that. I mean, as far as the discussions, everything was within budget. But for the last conversations they had, I mean, I don't have
It's 4,600,000.
4.6, I think, yeah.
They're trying to stay in budget.
I want to say
They have to stay within budget.
Yeah.
I can always hope other than.
I want to say they were actually coming in under budget from the last conversations I had. I don't have an exact figure though.
All right. So that's all. If anybody have anything for athletic fields, anything else? I think we're going to postpone the approval of the minutes because there were some significant changes that came up this afternoon. So I'll make those changes and send them back around next week, before next. I'll do it quickly. Sorry, I got those to you within 10 minutes of when they got to me. So sorry they were late, but that's what you get. And now, any other items? Roger, you had something?
So my other item was along the solar panel idea, in the area of solar panels, having taken a peek at the DPW budget and the general cost of electricity in coming years, which there's a significant bump. It made me wonder whether there was any plot of land in Burlington that was large enough to make it worthwhile to put up a sizable PPA solar
Go into business.
fan.
One big one.
Yeah,
And
landlocked forest.
obviously, it's an undeveloped idea, but electricity costs are going to go down.
So to that point, it was raised at one point if a solar array farm would make sense on the landlocked parcels that would generate into the grid.
Get all those trees out
I
of the
don't think we
way.
can get access to it to do the development work. Anyway,
I'll let you worry about it. You're on DP, who's got DPW?
that's,
There you go.
Same guys that are solving the water.
I hate to,
Well-
oh, sorry.
Well, if you're adding on.
Yeah, it was related to, I hate to make this a solar meeting, but I am curious, with the high school, what happens to all solar panels on there when we do all the work?
It's up to the PPA company, I think.
Right, I don't know that we own them.
Has anyone thought about that, or?
Well, I'm sure they have. We don't own them, and so I assume that the company still has the access to the rooftops.
Gotta cost us something to move them, though.
It's interesting to know whether we have to pay them because they're not getting 20 years out.
I bet we do, is what I'm wondering. At any rate, if you could just make sure someone's thought that.
I think like
That's a good point.
15 years old.
I don't think they're that old.
No, they
Whoever's
within
been
like,
high school, you
they're
figured that
within
out.
like 5 or 7 years.
I'll report back.
Doug's got his best people on it now.
Really?
Sorry to interrupt, Steve.
Steve, what do you got?
So I have a need for someone as a second committee member for Tuesday for planning and for the Board of Health. Paul's not available, and I need a person to do the budget reviews with me.
Tuesday?
3:18 in the morning,
What time in the morning?
like 9 and 10:30.
I can do,
You want to do it?
yeah. I have an appointment, like 3 appointments in the afternoon.
Oh, we'll be done by noontime.
Sure.
Thank you. I'll get you hooked up.
All right. Everybody else doing well with the subcommittee? All right.
Morning.
Any more questions
Thanks.
on OPEB?
Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Excellent. Road to switch.
Well, this was.